There are two new names out of the transfer portal that Louisville fans need to know about. On today's episode of the Locked on Louisville podcast, we discuss the recruitments of Chucky Hepburn and TJ Bamba. That said, stay tuned.
You are Locked on Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Happy Friday. Welcome into a new edition of the Locked on Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. Today's episode presented by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and that competitive side is a huge fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. Join your friends and download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store or Google Play. As always, I want to take this time to personally thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, the Locked on Louisville podcast is free on all streaming services 5 days a week. Your team every day. A lot of names have been introduced in relation to Louisville's transfer portal efforts, and we're going to discuss two more key names, two guard options, Wisconsin's Chucky Hepburn, Villanova's TJ Bamba. We'll conclude the show with a little spring game talk, a late edition in terms of an official visit for the spring game. Four-star safety JaDon Blair will be on Louisville's campus on Friday evening. I know that this is a key weekend for Louisville men's basketball. You've got Jaden Quaintance, supposedly Abubakar Traore. I haven't heard if he's actually been confirmed to make it to campus. But Trey Townsend from Oakland, Corin Johnson from Washington, all expected on campus this weekend. But it doesn't stop Louisville from getting seriously involved with some other options. One intriguing option, a name that is picking up a ton of steam over the past 24 hours or so, is Wisconsin transfer Chucky Hepburn. Hepburn entered the portal yesterday, and according to many people on the Wisconsin side of things, and there have been some national recruiting insiders that have sort of echoed those sentiments in some regard, is that this isn't a situation to where Hepburn is going to play the field. Basically knows where he's going to go. And this happens more often than not, both in football, basketball, college sports in general. Most of the time, players will enter the portal. Well, maybe not most of the time, but a very good amount of the time, players will enter the portal already with their destination pretty much decided. Many Wisconsin fans have been vocal that that destination for Hepburn is Louisville. There have been some people on the local side. Rick Bozich tweeted out that there is opportunity for Louisville with Hepburn. And Bozich doesn't just tweet stuff out for the hell of it. If he tweets something out, you best believe that it has some legs and that there is smoke. There's some people that I've talked to on the Louisville side that have basically reiterated sort of that same point. And national recruiting insiders have been leading people to believe that there is an association there. So I'm a firm believer that where there is smoke, there is fire. And I guess I should preface the whole Wisconsin argument by saying that a good amount of them say it's Louisville, but there's an equally sizable amount that say that the destination is picked, but it's not known where that is. So hopefully that is Louisville. But at this point, it would make sense. There have been some rumblings that Louisville is, still looking at some guys that we don't know about, and Chucky Hepburn would fit the bill. The next thing for me in this situation, in this recruitment, is the Cardinals to get an official visit. On Trilly Donovan's Discord, granted, Trilly Donovan has been money when it comes to the transfer portal. This didn't come from Trilly himself. It came from apparently someone who's known to be a Wisconsin insider. That insider said that Louisville basically put a number out there and was a take it or leave it situation, and apparently Hepburn took the offer. This is coming from a Wisconsin insider on Trilly Donovan's board. The only reason I mention that is because of the talk of the past 24 hours that Louisville is going to be the pick or have a very good chance of being the pick. I personally do not know. It's all just rumors at this point. But I would love to have Chucky on this team. In his 3 seasons in Madison, he started 103 of 103 games for the Badgers, played over 30 minutes a contest each and every season. Took a little bit of a statistical step back between his sophomore and junior season, but when you have Connor Essegian, I think I forget how to pronounce his name, and AJ Storr, being the 3rd scoring option or maybe even 4th, 9.2 on a balanced team isn't necessarily all that bad. He also has shot over 32% from 3 in each of his 3 collegiate seasons. Had definitely improved his field goal percentage. A career high 43% from the field. Has to be a better free throw shooter. Hasn't shot over 74% in any of his seasons, but solid lead guard, 3.9 assists, and very, very good on-ball defender, 2.1 steals per contest. He has never once averaged under a steal per game in any of his 3 collegiate seasons. The 6'2" native of Omaha, Nebraska. I feel like we keep coming back to this prototype of a player that Pat Kelsey is looking for. That is a player that can pass well, can move without the ball, has the ability to shoot the 3, and is a solid defender that can operate in transition. Hepburn is a 3-level scorer. He's 61% at the rim. He's a crafty guard that isn't very explosive. But let me rephrase that. He isn't extremely explosive. He's not awfully quick, but he's crafty. He's sort of a tweener in size. He's not a small guard, but he's not a large point guard either, sitting at 6'2". But very good ball handler, crafty with the ball in his hands, and can create his own shot, both off the dribble, which he has to be better at. That's probably one of my main gripes, is that he has to be a better shooter off the dribble, but can create with the ball in his hands. A lot of his offense is coming in transition, in pick and roll situations. But back to the point that he is a 3-level scorer. Only about 35% of his total attempts come from around the rim. He shoots a good amount of 3-point shots. He's very good above the break, both from the right and from the left, and can be a respectable 3-point shooter. He also pays a good amount of attention to the mid-range, especially on the elbows. Really, really good in terms of creating his shot, curling off the screen, and being able to get his shot off with not much opposition and interference. Even when there is, he gets a good release at the top of his jump shot mechanically, so there's not a ton of interference. So offensively speaking, he's not going to be your number 1 scoring option, and there's really not one thing he does all that great on the offensive end, but he does pretty much everything else pretty good to where he's a sound option. There is a reason why he has started 103 games for the Wisconsin Badgers, and Wisconsin is no slouch. They've had some good players. They've had some good teams playing in the Big Ten. So if he were to come to Louisville, it would be to start at point guard. And that's okay because, you're not going to have a guard that's going to handle the ball 80% of the time. It's more so moving without the ball, a lot of screens, a lot of movement. He has a 21% assist rate, so those 3.9 assist numbers look a little bit better than what they would if they were just standing alone. So I'm a fan of Hepburn's game. The main reason why I feel like he is definitely a great fit, and there are multiple different reasons, but the main one, defense. Very, very active defender with active hands, does a great job of jumping the passing lanes, 2.1 steals per game. That's very, very good. So, I think that if you're wanting to be better defensively, you're going to have to get better point of attack defenders, and you do that by getting players that show a ton of effort, that can switch onto people, etc. Looking at the statistics, I think he is like top 30, if I'm not mistaken, he's top 40 in steals per game. That's very, very good to be in top 40 in steals per game. So I think Hepburn makes a lot of sense. The main thing you have to look for now is if Louisville gets the visit. I would imagine if the rumors are true and he does have a destination in mind, then the first place that he schedules that visit for, reading between the lines, that's probably 100% the place in which he's going to go. It's almost just a formality, making sure that all the T's are crossed and all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. So Hepburn, if the rumors are true, that would be a huge addition to a team that's looking for some veteran leadership and some Power 5 experience. So very interested to see what happens with that recruitment. Another one that people really haven't talked about at all is TJ Bamba from Villanova. Cut his list to 6. Louisville is in that 6. We'll discuss that recruitment here momentarily. Before we do that, I want to tell you about our friends and the title sponsor of the show, Monopoly Go. I already told you at the beginning of the show, I'm a very competitive person. And that competitive side, let me tell you, it is a huge fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you money. The best part is you get to mess with your friends. You can charge them on your properties for rent. You can heist their vaults of riches, and the leaderboards show you who the largest Monopoly tycoon is. It's not just competition either. You can also team up with your friends against people around the world in time tournaments to earn huge rewards. Get in the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now for free on the App Store or Google Play. Also want to take this time to tell you about our friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, where you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Cardinal fans, for those of you who are big NFL fans as well, the Locked On NFL Mock Draft is available now. You can find the ultimate 6-episode series of Locked On NFL Draft to hear who the local Locked On experts are picking for every NFL franchise, with live reactions from local college football experts and even the fantasy football angle. The Locked On NFL Mock Draft is available now on the Locked On NFL Draft channel, on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. TJ Bamba is a name that I don't think many people have talked about at all as an option for Louisville. I mean, there have been so many different names, so maybe by default it would make sense as to why Bamba's name hasn't gotten mentioned. But Bamba's name was mentioned with Louisville, and it wasn't just showing interest. This was him cutting his list to 6 schools, according to League Ready in Chicago. TJ Bamba, who is a native of the Bronx, spent this past season at Villanova after transferring there from Washington State, where he spent 3 seasons there. He just cut his list to 6. Louisville's included on this list with Kentucky, Stanford, Florida, Memphis, and Oregon. This past season, he averaged 10.1 points per game, 3.6 assists per game, and 3.6 rebounds per game, 1.8 assists per game. The year before that was his career year with 15.8 points per contest, but went to a Villanova program to where the scoring was fairly evenly distributed. You have 5 guys averaging over 7 points per game. It was led by Eric Dixon, and then TJ Bamba, then Justin Moore. So a lot of shots going around for everyone. TJ Bamba, like Chucky Hepburn, like a lot of these guards that we talk about, possesses a skill set that it's what Pat Kelsey is looking for. Good three-point shooter, solid assist rate, solid defender, solid player in transition. The list goes on. Most of his attempts will come from around the rim. 45% are around the rim. He shoots about 50% at the rim, so it could be better, but it's still fairly solid. And he's also a very, 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 very solid three-point shooter, averaging in his past 3 seasons of college ball, he shot over 36% from behind the arc on pretty much 3 assists or 3 attempts per game. He had 5 attempts per game in 2022-23. He shot 37%. This year, 3.7 attempts per game, 36.9 from the perimeter. 43, 37, 82 shooting splits. Decent defender, 0.8 steals per game. The 6'5", 215-pound player from the Bronx is one of those, I'm not going to say a 3-and-D type player, but he doesn't really utilize a ton of the mid-range. Very, very good from the corner. He is prolific from the corner, almost shooting 50% from the right side and the left side as well. Has that 14% assist rate. Would project to be a 2 in this system, maybe a 3, but the 2 or the 3, whether he wants to play guard or wing. 94th percentile in the country, catch and shoot. 82nd percentile in spot-up situations. So he is very comfortable with playing off ball and waiting for his opportunity, and that could definitely fit into this offensive system that Pat Kelsey utilizes because, well, you're moving without the ball, which Bamba does fairly well. You are shooting a lot of threes. Bamba does that pretty well. You are still moving without the ball and creating space for others. It is the, my guy Ananias said it on a Twitter space on Thursday night. He made it a pace and space. That's sort of the mantra of how I believe that Pat Kelsey is going to run his offense. A lot of pace, creating a lot of space. Bamba's skill set is very cohesive with that playing style, especially offensively. He's pretty solid in transition as well. There's a lot of attention to getting out and running in transition. I feel like I'm a broken record a little bit when it comes to talking about these players because the majority of these guys that we keep talking about, y'all, the skill sets are fairly similar and uniform. You're seeing good shooting. You're seeing good assist rates, solid catch and shoot numbers, spot-up numbers, efficient around the rim, attention to transition. I mean, there is filling out your roster with guys who fit your system. And then there is Pat Kelsey. It basically almost feels like it's making it a prerequisite that, yeah, you could be as highly rated as you can be. You can have scored as many points as you have. But if you don't fit the skill set that I'm looking for in my offense and on my team, we're not going to prioritize you. And it feels like, I'm not sure that there's been one name that we've talked about, truthfully, on this show that have either visited or they've been interested in that Louisville hasn't, identified as a player that fits the bill in terms of skill. So with the schools also in the mix, he's from New York, and you talk about the schools that are involved, and I mean, there's none that really have a geographical advantage. If any, it's probably Kentucky and Louisville being the closest ones at this point. You do wonder Louisville not necessarily having a ton of starting opportunities at the moment, and he started all of the past 64 games of his college tenure with Javon Hadley, with Terrence Edwards. You do wonder, schools like Kentucky that don't have many players right now, if they would have the advantage due to starting, minutes available. Memphis has a ton of bags that they can toss around. It would make sense. Todd Golden has a style of offense that I feel like would fit what you're looking for if you're a TJ Bamba. Dana Altman is a great coach to go play for, and he's played up in that Pacific Northwest area, so that would make sense. So we'll see exactly what happens. It's going to be a matter of if he's going to schedule some visits. So I think that that's sort of the main thing you have to focus on now, and we'll see exactly who he schedules those visits with. So we'll put the basketball talk for the side for the moment, go to the football side, where Louisville has had a very unexpected official visitor that will be on campus for the spring game. That is four-star safety JaDon Blair. It's going to be a tough battle to get him, but hey, with the Cardinals getting the first or second, I should say, official visit in his schedule, there has to be some genuine interest, and we'll break it down a little bit more here momentarily after we talk about our friends over at Gametime. Gametime is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. Pick out any specific game or matchup that you'd like to attend, and check out the deals that you can get on Gametime. There's no better app to serve your last-minute ticket needs. If you can get some flash deals, some zone deals, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event. It doesn't just have to be sports, theater, comedy, music, you name it. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Final segment of this Friday edition of the show. I'm sorry with the scheduling the way it is that we scheduled this, close to the spring game, but still wanted to have another episode to talk about because there are still things that we need to discuss and names being discussed. But there's a lot of players on campus for football this weekend. Current commits, four-star level guys. There's also one official visit. That is 2025 safety JaDon Blair, ranked as a four-star, the 160th best player in the country, according to 24/7 Sports, 15th best player at the safety position, 5th best in the state of North Carolina, 6'4", 190 pounds. He's from Winston-Salem, and he has a very, very busy spring and summer. He has scheduled, I think it's almost all, I don't know how many official visits a player gets now, but he just visited Virginia Tech, to where the Hokies had a strong impression on him. He will visit Louisville this weekend for the spring game. He will then have a little bit of time off and then a busy summer. South Carolina, Notre Dame, Michigan, Florida State, and Penn State in that order in a month's span. So he will be a busy guy for Louisville. What you're going to want to do if you want to have a chance, number one, I think the best opportunity is if you can get his commitment before he makes his visits, to where he cancels those visits. That obviously is the best course of action, but at the very least, you have to have a great visit with him now. Hope he doesn't commit in the summer and you get him back on campus in the fall for a game. So that would be the big key there. His dad actually played defensive line. I think it was East Carolina, and then played with the Bengals and the Browns, and then went over to play in Europe. So he has some football background. His skill set, it's very Ben Perry-esque. A larger safety, 6'4", sort of as a Swiss Army knife on that Mount Tabor High School defense, where he's playing in the box, he's playing in center field, he can defend the run. I'm not necessarily so sure if he is a true like safety out in center field, or if you utilize him in an outside linebacker position, or if he's a hybrid, where maybe in the Isaiah Simmons mold, to where you just deploy him wherever you need him in certain rotations and situations, and then you'll let him operate. But very, very good defender in the run, whether it is inside the hashes or the outside zone. Quick, gets to the ball with vengeance. The pursuit is there, and he's a larger guy, 6'4", 190 pounds. That's the main thing for me, is that we've seen safeties or guys playing safety at high school, and then they get recruited to Louisville, and they end up making the switch to outside linebacker after adding a little bit of weight. Ben Perry being one of those players. I think that Blair has a skill set very similar to that of Ben Perry. And not to mention that, but he can play in the slot. He can play as a linebacker. He can play out in center field. With his size, there's not really a mismatch with opposing receivers that are taller than 6 foot. Quick footwork, good hand-eye coordination to where, he's able to high point the football and win those 50-50 jump ball battles. When you watch his game, it's very clear as to why he's a top 160 player. And this might be one of the players that are on the top of my Cardinals defensive wish list. He is an absolute game changer. You see the amount of schools that are going after him, and it is a little bit daunting. There's a lot of Big Ten flavor. There is SEC flavor, ACC, you name it. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this might be his first time. No, he actually made it onto campus. This isn't a new name. He made it onto campus unofficially back last July for an unofficial visit. So Brom and company have been involved with this player. They offered last April, pretty much almost a year to date. So we'll see how this goes. The spring game is going to feature a good amount of big-name visitors, and I don't want to sound like a broken record and tell you the same things about, yeah, we need these visits to go great. Obviously, we do. That's what would make sense, right? But I'm interested to see what happens from this visit, who some of the unofficial visitors that end up scheduling official visits are, and how this visit goes with JaDon Blair. I think it's JaDon. It might be Jaden, but I believe it's JaDon with the capital D, J-A-D-O-N. So exciting weekend overall. Thunder over Louisville, spring game, you name it. It's a big couple weeks here in the city of Louisville. That's going to wrap up today's episode of the show. Everyone have a great day. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Make good decisions. And we will see you right back here very soon. Go Cards.